Moving on, we're going to take a look at Impulse. Impulse is a drum machine style plugin from Ableton, and what you need to do here is to load up samples. Now I could go through my samples and load up a kick in this first slot, maybe a snare or a clap in the second, or if I go to the Impulse instrument and I open the disclosure triangle, I can choose from some preset Impulse kits that come with Ableton. So I'm going to choose soft saturated and I'm going to double click it and it loads it up, and you can see it's given me samples on each of these 8 slots. It's also given me a set of macros. These knobs are called macros and they are user definable, and these macros just so happen to control the volume level for each one of these samples, so you can mix right here in the macros. Each sample can be previewed, muted, soloed, transposed or stretched. You can add saturation, whatever you want. And any setting you change here is independent from the other samples. There is a master section over here with a volume control, master transposition, and master timing control. Moving on, we have Drum Rack. Drum Rack is one of the most flexible and most useful plugins in Ableton Live. This gives you dozens and dozens of slots where you can add your own samples, sounds, anything. Now it's called Drum Rack because traditionally it's used for drum kits. But really, you could load up anything here. These could all be chopped vocals. They could be anything you want, really. There's really no limit to what they could be. What I'm going to do is go to my drums in the categories in the browser, and I'm going to load up a drum kit, and it will automatically load it into a drum rack. So I'm going to choose the 707 core kit. And now you can see that my drum kit is loaded with samples from that kit. This drum kit also comes with macros for EQ and compression. Each one of these samples is individually editable, and there are many settings you can change. And if you are really sharp, you'll notice that the drum rack looks a lot like Simpler organized into pads, and that's exactly what it is. Moving on, we have Instrument Rack. Now, Instrument Rack is not really an instrument, it is a container for instruments. So if you wanted to have a hybrid instrument that used both analog and wavetable, you could do that. And you could mix them, you could pan them, you could do anything you want to them. You could add effects onto each one of them. You could bundle effects for both of them together. But that's the function of Instrument Rack, is so you can build your own custom instruments, and we will be doing that later in the course. Finally, the external instrument plugin is there so you can have Ableton talk to external instruments such as synthesizers or other MIDI gear, whatever you want. We're probably not going to use the external instrument plugin in this course, but I did want to point it out since it's in the instrument category. I know that's a lot of information, but there's actually a lot more to learn on top of that. So in the coming weeks, I'm going to be doing videos on each individual instrument in much greater detail.